From the field to the card shop, it's Moon 3PO and Bro PO breaking down baseball and the hottest sports cards. No F-bombs in this episode, this intro. No F-bombs. We're clean today.
Clean episode.
Clean. No F-bombs, hopefully, in this episode here. But Bro PO, it is our normal Sunday night recording. How's your night going so far?
Oh man, I'm chilling. We started here at the casa. We started a little Star Wars marathon, showing the little one. All those good Star Wars movies that we all enjoy. You know what I'm saying? So, other than that, it's been good. Bidding on some Star Wars cards here. I know we talked about it a little bit off camera. So, yeah, I'm bidding on some old school Star Wars cards. So, if you hear a little eBay ping in the background, do apologize, but that's what I'm doing on my end. But how's your night? How you doing?
Yeah, normal night for me. Spent the whole day cleaning the house, the casa. Got some more Christmas stuff going on here. Went Christmas shopping this weekend. Absolute hectic. I'm safe to say I'm doing the rest of my shopping online because there's absolute madness in those malls and shopping centers. But yeah, normal night here for Moon 3PO here on my end. And yeah, this episode got a little bit of a fun one here. Obviously, we had some trades breaking down over the weekend. For us, it wasn't, emergency pod worthy. Still some very big trades. So we're obviously going to talk about both of those here. And then I know in the last couple of episodes, we haven't really talked about the hobby and things like that, but we do got a little bit of a discussion of the overall state of the hobby when it comes to breaking a little bit of
a little drama, maybe?
A little drama that was happening there in the hobby. Of course, I don't want to dive too much into the actual drama itself. I think when we created the podcast, and I think what's so big in the hobby, and we'll talk about that when we get there, but it's having these communications about it and talking about it. I think that's very important for the overall hobby. But we'll get there when we get there. But the first piece of news here of trades was the Yankees acquiring Devin Williams from the Milwaukee Brewers. Now, I know at the at the winter meetings, that was being discussed there a little bit. I didn't think this deal was going to come into fruition, but it came pretty quickly, officially as of December 13th, so it's been a little bit days and it's been marinating. Yankees have received Devin Williams from the Milwaukee Brewers. The airbender himself and the Brewers receive Nestor Cortez and top prospect, or highly regarded. I would say highly regarded, but a little bit of a higher tier prospect in Caleb Durbin. Bro Pio, when you saw the news breaking down, obviously we preface every episode we are Red Sox fans. When you saw the news breaking there on that Friday, how did you feel about that?
For one, I was a little bit upset because I do like Devin Williams. I think he's like that bona fide back of the end closer / setup man. There's the Bing. However you want to call him. But I also look at the package of what the Yankees gave up to him, and I honestly think the Yankees obviously got the better end of it because, for one, Nestor Cortez, he's poo-poo. I mean, let's be real. Like, he's not the guy that everybody thought he was. We like his little funky delivery and stuff like that, but I mean, the last memory you got of Nestor Cortez is giving up a fucking grand salami. Oh, God, I dropped the F-bomb. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I tried to be clean, and we lasted maybe 5 or 6 minutes, but yeah, the last thing you got of Nestor Cortez is giving up that grand slam to Freddie Freeman in the World Series. That's your last image of him. And then I liked Caleb Durbin, and it obviously makes sense because they obviously lost Willie Adames to the Giants, so you can see why. And I think the Brewers, let's be real, last year, nobody thought that they were going to be in that spot that they were because they sold off a lot of pieces. And I think they're again in that spot where they're losing pieces and they're again selling off, but they're trying to, build for the future. They got Jackson Churio. They had that breakout year. Now they're bringing in obviously Caleb Durbin. So let's see what he can do for, obviously it's his spot. He has nothing to lose over there. But let's see. The Yankees pitching wise, they got better this offseason. They basically traded, if you really think about it, they brought in Max Fried and got rid of Nestor, and then they lost Clay Holmes and brought in Devin Williams. So pitching wise, they're a lot better, but offensively, you're still missing that Juan Soto. So I think they still need that big bat, which I expect them to still be in it for the bat. They haven't really spent that much money this offseason. But let's see how it goes. But I mean, he's gonna be a pain in the butt. To be real.
Yeah, when I saw that there, I was like, "Ugh, this deal is an automatic win for the Yankees, regardless of who they gave up. 'Cause I know Devin Williams, despite that little bit of a struggle in the postseason, that one little appearance there, there's no denying what he's done over the 5-6 seasons here with the Milwaukee Brewers. And if you're a Brewers fan or part of that Brewers organization, this is something that they've obviously have done in the past. They did it with Josh Hader, they've done it with Corbett Burns, and now they're doing it with Devin Williams, guys who are all upcoming free agents, things of that nature. And obviously the Brewers are not in that type of market to go out and pay these guys, which is very similar to another team that we're going to talk about a little bit later. But yeah, when I saw it, it was a little bit, I was like, oh, crap, like we're going to have to see this guy here. Going to be awkward without the beard for sure. I feel like the Yankees need to get rid of that rule. It's ridiculous that they still have that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think Caleb Durbin is a nice little prospect for the Brewers. I still think they could have probably got a little bit more. I know he tore it up in the Arizona Fall League. He dealt with some injuries in the past as well. But yeah, I think going forward, I think I see him as more of a super utility kind of guy. But like you mentioned there, with Adames being gone, obviously he needs to replace that bat. So it's definitely his position to lose. And yeah, Nestor Cortez, nothing. I think you basically noted there. The last fond memory the Yankees have of him is giving up a bomb to Freddie Freeman and had that one little all-star appearance, but after that hasn't really been anything here, which is, I think, very, very overrated left-handed pitcher in my opinion. Going to be curious to see though how like you mentioned there as well, how the Yankees operate moving forward. Because yes, they have gotten better from the pitching side, so their philosophy has definitely changed. I think they used to be considered the Bronx Bombers. I don't think you can really call them that anymore. They've definitely have transitioned there to the pitching side with Fried. They did go ahead there and lose Clay Holmes to the New York Mets. So they definitely have been trying to improve their pitching as fast as possible. I give it up here for them, and it kind of leaves it to open discussion. Right now, obviously, trying not to be as non-biased as possible. Do you think right now the Yankees are the favorites in the AL East with the roster that they have right? Obviously, the offseason is not over. There's still deals that the Red Sox, Orioles can make. But right now, on paper,
yeah, I think so. I honestly think it's still between them and Baltimore, honestly. I think Baltimore, like, they still got the offense. Obviously, they're probably more than likely going to lose Corbin Burns. But I still think it's them. I don't know. I think it's between those two, and I think the middle of the pack is obviously going to be between the Sox and the Jays. Well, you can throw in the Rays too, because they obviously really haven't done anything or in anything like that. But yeah, if you want to talk about maybe division, I think it's so close. I think honestly, it's like I think this is one of those years where it's literally like a flip of a coin, where I think any one of the 5 teams can probably take over, and you can honestly probably make an argument for any one of the 5 teams, and it'd probably be a good one. That probably might be more of a discussion probably once we get like into spring training and we get like the the rosters and stuff like that, and we could do like a little division preview. But I honestly think this year is probably going to be like a toss up. I think it's close, but if I can give the slight edge to anybody, it's probably going to be either Baltimore or the Yankees, the Orioles. So,
yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think from going back to the offensive side, it's going to be definitely more a play of what do you finally have if you're the Yankees? Like you're losing Glaber. Like who's Oswaldo Cabrera? Like who is he? Who is Ben Rice? Who is Jason Dominguez? So there's still a lot of holes in that lineup. Is Josh Chisholm that guy? I really don't know. I don't think so.
Nope.
So who do you have? So I think that's the thing there for the Yankees. So yeah, I would give it to them from the pitching side. They definitely are the favorites. They're obviously very better suited than the Red Sox as far as around, even after their Crochet deal. Then, like we discussed our last pod, we still need to make their.
And I think that's probably why I think everything is. That's probably why I think everything is so close. If you want to compare like just the Yankees and the Red Sox, like the Red Sox have those same questions. Like if you take off Judge off those Yankees offensive, like who's going to lead them? Like you have all those same questions. If same thing for like the Red Sox. If you take out Devers or stuff like that, like who is going to lead this? You have so many like, is it going to be Casas? Is he going to have a healthy season? You have that empty short second base. Who's going to lead them? Is it going to be Grissom? Is Christian Campbell going to break camp? Same thing for shortstop, Story healthy, and you got your outfield. Is Jaron Duran going to continue that offensive breakout season that he had last year? Same thing for Willie, or is he going to continue? Is he going to not stop being protected from lefties? So I mean, that's the reason why I give it a little bit to the Yankees, just because I think their rotation and bullpen's a little bit better built than ours. But I mean, if the Sox go up, get another starter, get another bullpen arm, then we'll see what's up. But I don't know. It's gonna be a fun season. I'm ready for the win. I'm ready for spring, bro.
Yeah.
I'm so ready.
Once Christmas
I
is
saw it right
over-
now on Baseball Reference. I think I saw Baseball on not Baseball Reference, on Baseball Savant. I think we're like 71 days away from spring training, if I'm not mistaken. 67 days. I'm sorry, 67 days. I'm like, dude, I'm so ready. Let's talk.
Yeah, once Christmas comes around and
I'm
Christmas
done.
wraps up, my brain just screams baseball. But yeah, no, I think we nailed it there of everything there from both trades of the aspects there from Durbin, Cortez, and from Devin Williams here. So definitely gonna be fun to see how he responds there, how those guys respond. I think Devin Williams is gonna be fun to watch him pitch on our side. We'll obviously a little bit more of him. Obviously not fun for the Red Sox, but definitely be fun from the fan perspective, because I'm being completely honest, I don't watch a lot of Brewers games. So it'd be kind of fun to see him, on the opposite side here, see, bringing that changeup back to, or bringing the changeup there to New York. Now, the other trade here that kind of had me a little bit more surprised than the Devin Williams there was the big one here. Kyle Tucker heading off to Chicago. Obviously, there's Chicago receiving Kyle Tucker, and the Astros receive Isaac Paredes, Cam Smith, and Hayden Wesneski. I believe that's how you pronounce that. But close enough.
Good enough for me.
Good enough for us. So once again, I'll open up the floor to you. Once you saw that, what was your thoughts about that? It seemed like the report was close that he was going to the Yankees. It seemed like that was what we were hearing. Because there was some complication with Seiya Suzuki, if he's being moved or not. That still is a question that needs to be answered. But first thoughts here as far as of Kyle Tucker heading off to the south side of Chicago.
Yeah, so this trade honestly kind of didn't make no sense to me at first, because for one, I don't feel like the Cubbies are all in. Like I think they feel like they can make a push for like division, because I think the NL Central obviously is like up for grabs, and there's like it's anybody's game really. But I don't know, like to trade away like two guys that are like prospects, or like who can have that control that teams value, to give those two guys up for somebody who's literally a 1-year rental is kind of like, all right, we're all in kind of a thing. But then it's Kyle Tucker, and I think we were talking about this off camera a little bit, that Kyle Tucker is like such an underappreciated player, and I think he's undervalued for what like he gives. Like if you take away this year, I know he was hurt last year, but if you look at the last 3 seasons, like he's an above 5 WAR player. Like, that's not like it's not no Joe Schmo's, but like, it's, we like to say that on here like a Joe Schmo, but he's not some Joe Schmo. So I think he's like he's a game changer. He's a roster changer, honestly, to me. And I think like he was and I think also what threw me off is like he's such a fan favorite. Like obviously we live in the Texas area, so when we go down to Houston, I mean there was that core that was there. It's safe to say they're kind of gone now. Like even with this trade, you're bringing in 2 infielders, so that obviously means to me Bregman more than likely is not going to come back, or if he is, they're probably going to slide these other guys to second base. But I think Isaac Paredes is a third baseman, if I'm not mistaken, right? Or so is Cam Smith, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, so Paredes is a third baseman. I think he can probably split a little bit time at first, and Cam Smith is a third baseman. Actually was just part of the 2024 draft, so that makes now 2 2024 Bowman draft players who just made their first Bowman entries there into 2024 Bowman draft, that being Brandon Montgomery and Cam Smith, now switching teams. They're being a part of some pretty big trades. But yeah, I think you basically kind of touched upon a lot of different things there. First off, Kyle Tucker, yes, I think this deal screams to me a lot of Juan Soto. It's a 1-year type thing, and you're trading away a lot of good players and a lot of good prospects for that 1-year rental. It's to be seen if Chicago will extend him or not. I haven't seen anything as far as that, what those are going to look like. But obviously, Chicago has the resources to spend money, which they haven't really done in a long time, if I'm not mistaken. But same could have been said there with the Yankees. But yeah, Kyle Tucker in the last 3 seasons here. This is all fan graphs. 2021 5 WAR, 2022 4.9, so nearly a 5 WAR. 2023 a 5 WAR, and 2024 dealing with some injuries, but nearly a 4.2 WAR player. And it's even before the injury, he was on a MVP type caliber season. So the injury bug definitely did get him. But yeah, I had to like make sure that I was reading this here again because he is a fan favorite. And it doesn't surprise me. It doesn't really surprise. I don't say surprise me is not the wrong word. I guess shocking, surprise are the same word. But obviously, with that rental, it then becomes the play of the Astros. Juan Soto just got this X amount of dollars. Like, what does a Kyle Tucker get? And like, it looks like the Astros like, I don't want any part of that. I'm out, deuces. I don't want no part of this negotiation process whatsoever. And instead of letting him walk, well, let's just get something back. Because I'm a big believer in Cam Smith. I love the bat for Cam Smith. Isaac Paredes is a solid player. But
And I think if I'm not mistaken, the Astros were interested in Isaac Paredes like at the trade deadline. If not, so this probably may have been a deal that they were already previously discussing. And obviously during the trade deadline, probably the price tag's probably a little bit higher. So once you get into the off season, you can kind of see that the price maybe came down a little bit. But yeah, you mentioned the Soto deal. Like if you look at the numbers, like Kyle Tucker and him, I don't want to say they're similar, and I don't want to say like they're the same impact player, but I mean, if you go to Kyle Tucker's Baseball Savant, I mean, obviously he didn't qualify for last year because he was hurt. But if you go to 2023, it's all red. I mean, the only thing that's not red is his fielding run value, which happens to be same thing for Soto. He's not good on the defensive side. So I mean, if you can get like maybe like honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Kyle Tucker probably gets close to like 300 million next year. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think he's that type of player. And I mean, if you can get the same production value of Soto, but at half the value of the cost of it, I mean, who would not want that, right?
so here's some of the contracts here. So Juan Soto, obviously 15,765. Manny Machado is 11,350. Aaron Judge was 9,360. Corey Seager, I can't speak, 10,325. Mookie 12,306. Fernando Tatis 14 years 338. Bryce Harper 13,330. Mike Trout 12,426. Where do you think he falls like in that range? Because I would think he makes more than 300. I would put him in Mookie territory. Mookie. I don't want to say Aaron Judge territory. Maybe that's a little bit crazy, but it's just so interesting too because he's young too. Like he's what 27, going to be entering his 27th season.
He's 27, so he's probably gonna hit. He's gonna be 28 at free agency, which is basically like almost like Soto.
Yeah, 2 years older than Soto.
I think he's probably gonna hit that $300 million range. I wouldn't be surprised, or maybe at a little bit less, maybe. I think he's gonna be around there. I mean, like I said, like if you can get him at half of the cost that Soto costs, I mean, like why would you not want that? You know what I mean?
And
So,
I even too, I think like just looking at the numbers on Fangraphs right now, like I even think he might be a little bit more valuable. I know that's a crazy word, maybe more valuable than Soto, but like he brings speed to the base pass. Like
I mean, you
2023,
look
he was
at
almost a 30.
if you want to like you compare like the last like from 2021 to 2024, like in 2021, 30 homers, 2022, 30 homers, 2023, 29 homers, 2024, he played half the games more or less than he did the past couple years, and he still hit 23 home runs. Like, you know, like the numbers are there. I mean, each of the years he's OPS plus. This year 181, the previous year 142. 2022 OPS plus 129, 2021 OPS plus 147. So I mean, he's there. So I honestly think he would probably hit that $300 range if you want. Like I don't know. I think he's there.
I think I see him as a
Let's
400 mil. If I'm being completely honest, I can see him.
Woo!
If you're going,
Yeah.
if you're his agent, you're better than 2/3 of that
Is he a Bulls
those
player?
contracts there. I don't
Oh,
think
he's not.
so.
Okay, no, he's not.
Um,
No,
I
he's in
would
Excel
think
Sports
he's
Management. So maybe
yeah.
there's an extension. Maybe the Cubbies. I know there's talks of them like moving like Zaya Suzuki and Cody Bellinger. So maybe they move those two guys and they extend them. I mean, I would try.
Yeah, I would think so. Because I mean that's the kind of guy that you build around. Cody Bellinger, he's not that guy anymore. Seiya Suzuki, still a solid player, but definitely not worth the contract that it is. And I think Chicago have been
Send him to the Dodgers.
and everybody wants to go there, regardless if you're a free agent or via trade. But yeah, Kyle Tucker is definitely that guy that you build around. And I think that's why it's surprising too that the Astros. I mean, obviously it makes sense as far as why I don't think they were going to be paying him, but I think that's the guy that you want to build around him and Yardon. Yardon's a little bit locked up right now already, but he's definitely that centerpiece that you want to build around. So kind of transition there to a little bit of Astro talk there for a little bit. If you're an Astros fan, where do you think you're at right now? Because like you've mentioned there, you've lost essentially a lot of those core guys that were part of your team. Just breaking down a list here of who's not here. Obviously, the only one that they've kept is Jose Altuve, and obviously Jose Altuve was never going to leave the Astros. Never saw a world where that was going to happen. But you've lost. Obviously, this is just a tangent. This is just a list of players who they've lost here in the matter of span of a couple of off seasons. Dallas Keuchel, obviously, he's no longer here. George Springer, Garrett Cole, Carlos Correa. Obviously, they lost Verlander. Then he came back. But obviously, he's not the same guy. Alex Bregman's a free agent. They're thinking about trading Framber Valdez. They've obviously have the rumor has it there that they've listed him as being tradable. But if you're the Astros and you're an Astros fan, where do you think you're at right now? Because I don't think it's as high as it's been before.
Yeah, they're in a like that weird, funky spot where they're kind of selling off, but they probably want to stay competitive. But then again, if you look at the division that they're in, and it's not the most competitive division, like the A's are probably not gonna. They're gonna be good, but they're not gonna be like that good. Same thing for the Angels. I don't know. They're probably gonna end up in last place. I mean, their biggest threat is probably the Rangers. Um, so I think that's really who their biggest competition is. The Mariners they can pitch, but they can't hit. So, obviously, I think their biggest competition is the Mariners. But yeah, I thought it was weird that they were like shopping Kyle Tucker. Like I know I talked about it. Like he was probably like one of their fan favorites. I saw this TikTok of this parent who posted their kid, and he's like a big Kyle Tucker fan. And I guess they have like a King Tuck section, so he's always dressed up
Oh yeah.
like as a king and stuff like that with a crown. And so I was like, damn. I was like, I can tell he's a fan favorite. And obviously, when we go down there to Houston to go see the Sox, you can tell who's their fan favorites. And I think it's that weird transition where they're getting into those awkward years where, like you mentioned, they're losing all their guys. Like, and I think it started with Springer and Correa. Like they love those guys down there, and now they lost Kyle Tucker. They're probably more than likely going to lose Bregman. So they're getting into those weird years where they're going to start, I think, trying to rebuild, but stay competitive all at the same time. So it's a little funky era for them, and I think it's probably not used to it, especially since last year. Where I think obviously last year was the first time they hadn't made it in the ALCS and like since the past like 6 years. So they're used to being in it and winning that division. So it's going to be an interesting time for them, but yeah, I wouldn't count them out. I'm sure they'll stay competitive, but it's gonna be weird. It's gonna be weird for them. But
Yeah.
I know we
Yeah.
mentioned the Yankees really quickly. I think from what I heard that the Astros had asked for Luis Gil, and I think the
Oh
Yankees
yeah.
didn't want to give him up. So obviously they pivoted and got. And I think I also saw some rumors that they said that the Astros GM, which is I think Jim Crane or owner Jim Crane, didn't want to like do business with the Yankees. I don't know if that's true or not, or how much of that is true to a certain extent. So it'd be interesting to see if maybe the Cubs flip him to the Yankees. Maybe they'll package a Kyle Tucker and a Cody Bellinger. Maybe they'll get something in return. I don't know. It'd be interesting.
Yeah, I think I saw some rumblings about that. Like, there's supposed to be like the like Cody Bellinger, like they didn't want to go to the Astros or like the I really don't know the logistics. I didn't see too much or like confirmation of it, but I did see
Wasn't he? Well, wasn't he in the Dodgers in 2016, 2017?
Yeah, and then he had the
Was he
comments
there?
about yeah, he was there, and then he
Yeah.
had the comments about I think he said that Jose Altuve should have won MVP and that Judge should have won things like that. That's a different a different
Yeah.
discussion. Um, but yeah, I think also with this trade too, it kind of rebuilds a little bit of the farm system. Like I mentioned, that I'm a big believer in Cam Smith. He kind of because like if you look at and this is courtesy of Fangraphs, I was obviously doing some research for the pod, and it's kind of surprising on how like recently how bad the Astros have drafted the last 10 years. So 2015, they drafted for Daz Cameron. He was traded for Justin Verlander in 2017. 2015, you also draft Kyle Tucker. He's now traded. 2015, you also draft Alex Bregman. He's now a free agent. Forrest Whitley in 2016, we know how that's gone. 2017, JB Buckhass, I don't know how to pronounce that, traded for Zach Greinke. 2018, Seth Beer, traded for Zach Greinke. 2019, Corey Lee traded for Kendall Graveman. 2022, traded for Drew Gilbert, traded for Justin Verlander. 2023, Bryce Matthews still with the organization. And 2024, Walker Janik still with the organization. So those last 10 years or so have not been the highest of draftees for the Houston Astros. So the straight there kind of helped them build up a little bit, while I think they're still remaining competitive. And I think they're all, like you briefly mentioned there as well, I think this officially shuts down the door for Alex Bregman coming back to Houston. I think that's officially a closed door unless they somehow move Paredes to first, and you put Bregman back at third. But that definitely closes the window for Cam Smith, who I think is going to be major league ready pretty fast because he rose up through the minors there pretty quickly after getting drafted by the Cubs there. So, but yeah, I would think this officially puts a stamp there on the Bregman. I think you kind of touched upon it a little bit there, but do you think this officially ends the Bregman era in Houston?
Yeah, I'm like 90% sure that he's gone.
And especially now with all the rumblings that we've had with the Red Sox and stuff like that, I think.
Yeah, I even heard and I even heard rumblings that the Astros are now in on Arenado. So, I mean, I know Arenado. They leaked that list out that of the 6 teams that he wanted to go, and I don't think the Astros are on there. But yeah, there was. I think I saw a tweet that they were interested in Arenado. So, yeah, I kind of think that kind of puts the bow on it that he's gone, which is, I mean, he was good for them. He had one down year, if you really think about it, which was last year. So, I mean, and he's also a fan favorite there too. So he used to aggravate the hell out of me every time I was down there. So it'd be good to see him gone for my sanity. So I'm good.
Yeah, I would put the stamp there. I think I'll probably put like the same percentage, 90, maybe even 100%, that that Bregman and the Bregman salsa is going to be leaving the Texas area. Shout out to Bregman, has very good salsa. But yeah, it seems that's going to be the end for Bregman in the Houston area. Now, before we wrap up the Kyle Tucker trade, do want to touch upon it because, like we mentioned here, this is a trading card podcast. We like to mix in cards whenever we can. I'm going to be curious to see what this does for his market, because I know obviously Kyle Tucker was nowhere part of the 2017 Astros. I think that still has a little bit of a dark cloud over them. I think it will for X amount of years, even though it's been it's been 7 years now since that's happened. I still think that now there's still a little bit of a cloud over that. And I think obviously Chicago is a bigger market than Houston, but it's going to be curious to see what his cards do. For Kyle Tucker, like we mentioned here, he's a pretty generational talent. He's a pretty rare talent and a pretty good one. But when you look at his cards doesn't really translate over to that. Like we look at a first Bowman auto, just a normal first Bowman Chrome. I'm like, you could pick one up for $100 right now. The last sale was actually $100. You could have picked this up as low as back in 2022, 2023 for $60. So for a talent like that, that's pretty surprising. Awkwardly enough, there has been one sale Um, they're back in December before the trade. It was at $79, and then now we had a sale of 100 on December 13th. So ironically enough, we're already seeing a little bit of a price increase in his cards. And then at a PSA 10, nothing really too crazy as far as of data. But again, a PSA 10 back in like 20, looking at it here, courtesy of Market Movers, the highest peak was $625. That was in 2022, which is one of his higher performing seasons. But dropped down to like $186, $180 range back in 2022, 2023, and it slowly has tried to climb back up, sitting at almost $300. But going to be curious to see what those cards do. Obviously, being a bigger market, a bigger showcase, I think he'll probably get promoted a little bit more. I still think, obviously, Houston has won consistently, but I would still consider Houston as a mid-market team. What do you think, though? Do you think, really quickly, do you think the Kyle Tucker cards may be a little bit more on the rise?
I think it kind of could be. I mean, I think honestly I think we all know how diehard the Cubby fans are, so I think he's gonna do really good over there, and I think the fans over there are gonna like him a lot. So I wouldn't be surprised if his market goes up a little bit. Like I said, like the Cubbies are probably considered a little bit of more of a major market compared to Houston. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see his market. And I'm looking at his cards right now on eBay. Like there's a PSA 10 Bowman who I mean the bidding ends in like 5 days, obviously, but right now it's at $40. So I mean, obviously it's probably going to go up, and it's a rookie card, so it's pretty. I wouldn't be surprised if his market goes up.
I'm always so curious too, and I'm definitely going to keep an eye on it. It definitely will be a discussion here for the pod, to see how these early draft guys have been drafted, and obviously in 24 and had their first Bowman card in 24 draft. Obviously, he touched upon it there a little bit. Brandon Montgomery and now Cam Smith being traded. I wonder how those cards are going to be affected, because obviously the White Sox, not the bigger Chicago team, and then obviously they're the Astros. I don't know how they're going to respond there to Cam Smith. So Cam Smith right now, you could see his autos. Just again, another first Bowman Chrome, not numbered to just a normal standard base auto. Kind of see it here ranging from like anywhere from a $90 to $100. The highest sell was $145. So it's going to be curious to see how those cards there translate as far as I'm into that. So definitely we'll keep an eye on there. It's definitely going to be curious also for breaks too, to see how those, I wonder if those prices of those teams are going to change from either the Cubs side or to the Red Sox side too, because obviously some fans like myself or others like, well, I don't want to get a Brandon Montgomery card anymore because he's not with the Red Sox anymore. Or a Cubs fan could say, hey, I don't want Cam Smith's cards anymore because he's not with the Cubs anymore. So it's going to be curious to keep an eye on those breaks and keep an eye on those cards to see how they do there moving forward. No, you froze.
My back.
Now you're back.
No, yeah, it's gonna be interesting because I know we briefly talked about this too. Like how you bring up like Brandon Montgomery. Like I think there's still like desire to probably get that first Bowman card. But obviously, if you're a White Sox fan, do you want him like in a Red Sox jersey, or are you gonna wait to get him into that White Sox jersey? Which probably I wouldn't be surprised if it comes out in probably Bowman, right? Probably maybe next year. Maybe they might have him in a White Sox jersey, maybe. But it's not going to be his first
It's
Bowman.
first Bowman,
So
yeah. That's the thing. That's what, then it comes the
yeah.
collectability
So
side. Like, do you want him in the White Sox
yeah,
jersey or do you want him in his first Bowman in the different color socks? So, yeah, it's definitely going to be
yeah,
interesting to watch these card markets and cards in the
yeah.
next couple of weeks, couple of months, or even heading into spring training when these players actually start performing. Um, but we touched upon it there a little bit. We mentioned the word breaking. And that is where we're going to head into our discussion here, the little drama that we mentioned there in the beginning of the episode. So to preface, if you guys don't know what we're talking about, we kind of talked about them like 2 episodes ago. The account Breaker Comp
Yeah.
Cards. If you don't know who they are or what they do, what their main thing on there, you can find them on Instagram. It's at BreakCompCards. If you need me to spell that out for you, it's break and comp comp and then cards cards. Basically what they do is they gather up all the data I believe it's only on Fanatics Live, if I'm not mistaken. I really can't confirm that because obviously there's different breaking websites. I would assume it is just only Fanatics Live. But basically, what they do is they show off a product that's being released, and they basically show off what breakers are offering the highest prices and or the lowest prices. So, for example, if you go onto their Instagram handle, you can see here. Like I'm just gonna click on a random post here. Which breakers have the highest pricing on Bowman Draft Hobby? Break.com will save you money. Lowest price slab stocks at 3,990. Highest price, and it shows here Badger breaks 5,429. So it kind of gives you an idea, and then it gives you a list of just other breakers that you can find there on those apps. And their prices and the prices that they're offering. So with that came a little bit of drama. On let's say here about 2 days ago over the weekend, we had FilthBombBreaks. They then responded there to the post there. Now I'm gonna play the audio. And then obviously here we'll go over it a little bit here. Now the context of the video, it's FilthBomb Mike. You can find him on Instagram, FilthBomb_Mike. He's one of the better and well-known breakers on Fanatics Live. He's a baseball breaker for FilthBombBreaks, one of the bigger breakers on the Fanatics website. Highly recommend you go check them out because they are entertaining. There's no denying that. So I am going to play it on here for the pod. For the audio listeners, hopefully it's good for you guys. If you're watching on YouTube, you're obviously going to see me put my phone up to the microphone because I couldn't figure out a way to put it on my soundboard, but I soon will figure that out for us going forward. So I'm just going to start playing it here. Give me 1 second. I'm going to start it over.
Let's talk about something that does not get enough attention in the sports card breaking world, but makes a huge difference when choosing where to break. And that is speed and efficiency. Now, sure, we all love saving money, but there's more to picking a breaker than just going with the cheapest option. Personally, as someone who is a collector and hops into breaks often, I'd rather spend a little extra to break with someone who values my time than save a few bucks and sit through a 5-hour break that feels like it's never going to end. Or may not even break that day because they don't know how to fill the break or have the time to break it. There are accounts out there that promote cheap breakers, but they don't talk about the real cost, your time, and your overall experience. Grabbing a team at a discount, but then having to sit through a marathon 5-hour break that feels like every pack is taking forever, or having to wait 3 hours to fill the break because the other teams are priced incorrectly and yada yada, that's not fun. It kills the excitement. When I do breaks, my goal is to make sure you're getting an experience that is fast, efficient, and built for you to enjoy. This is not getting talked about enough. Good breakers keep things moving because they respect your time.
Oh, sorry about that.
Good breakers keep things moving because they respect your time. It's not just about the cost of the break. You want to know your hits. You want to celebrate your hits. And you want to move on to the next break with that rush of excitement. You want to wait forever. It's not just about ripping fast as well. It's about keeping the energy alive in the break. It's about staying efficient and delivering a break experience that's worth every dollar that you spent. Breaking shouldn't feel like a chore to sit through. I know it's not cheap, but if you're choosing a breaker, you got to think about the whole experience. Sure, you could go cheap, but is it worth sitting through hours of slow, drawn-out breaks? Or would you rather pay a little more for a fast, professional experience that gets you your hits quickly and keeps you engaged? The choice is yours. I know what I pick. Time is money. Break with someone who values both. Make it a filthy one. Let's talk about something that does.
So obviously there you can make the implication that FilthBomb was responding to breaker comps. Obviously he kind of mentions that there a little bit. So BreakCompCards their response to that video, and they put out a post basically posting that same video, and it's basically say breakcomp.com will save you money on breaks. Search for which breakers are offering the lowest prices, and they added FilthBombBreaks and FilthBomb_Mike. And then they did it again, posted the same video, and they put breaker comp is living rent free in FilthBomb Mike's head. Do you agree? And then they put out a poll. So that was some of the drama that was hitting the interweb and hitting Instagram over the weekend. I open the once again open the floor to you.
I'm about to say, do you want to go to this? Do you want to comment on this one first?
Yeah, I guess I'll go first. I'll go first. So,
Because I've been thinking about it, because I know obviously we talked about this a little bit yesterday, well, last night, and kind of had the day to kind of think about it, because I've obviously had my opinions about breaks in general. So I don't know, kind of curious to get your opinion on this one.
so I would first like to preface to our viewers, watchers, that I don't partake in a lot of breaks. Like, I partake in some and I dabble in some, but like I've never bought into a filth bomb break. I've never bought into any other break. I think the only two breaks that I've ever realistically have bought into is I did a black tie break, we did the tombstone break together, and then we've done cards and culture. Um and obviously we've built that relationship with cards and culture that I can go back to them and I'm willing to pay a price because that fits my style of breaking. Um, so with me, and I think this is going to be a very open tangent answer. But like for me, yes, price is a big thing. Like obviously you're spending your hard-earned money for the spot that you're paying for. There's no denying that. Um, but for me, like I actually do like being part of the break, and I like being part of the community. I know that's the word that's thrown out a lot, is community. Cause like when we join cards and culture, like and this is even pre-podcast. This is pre having Anthony on the pod and things of that nature. Like we would join and he would still acknowledge us. Like we would still talk to him. And like we'll ask him questions and they would still talk to us. They had Dylan Cruz and Gavin Dugas on their one of their breaks there. We still talk to them. So like having this being a part of the break, like that to me was very cool for me. And it was very like that experience was cool for me. I'm like, holy shit, like I just had Dylan Cruz answer a question for me. Like that's pretty cool on a break that probably wouldn't have happened anywhere else. I didn't buy into a spot, but I did join a filth bomb break and I typed in the chat and he actually did respond to me. So I thought that was kind of cool too. So like, yeah, being active with the chat, being active with the community, like that to me now is important. Like, do not get me wrong, that is very important. And obviously we've kind of hinted there. We have built up a little bit of relationship with the cards and culture team, having that community there, talking to those guys it feels like almost on a daily basis. But yeah, I would say the price point is important, but it also is important in choosing a breaker who you, one, respect, two, that you can trust, and three, you know you're going to get your cards in a fast manner. Like I know a cards and culture, I'm going to get my cards fast. Like if you pull a big hit in Bowman draft, like there's a strong indication that card can drop within 3 to 5 days. So like you pull a Travis Bazana Bowman Chrome, that dude can get hurt tomorrow and you don't have your card and now the card's gone, or like the value is gone. So you definitely want to get the value for your bucks. I think what Mike was promoting in the video is that while yes, he does go through the break fast and things like that, there is also speed and efficiency in getting your cards there on time, and getting your cards there in a safe manner, which I haven't had an issue with anybody sending my cards from these Fanatics Live, or I don't do any whatnot breaks, but I know there's some issues on that platform, but I haven't had any issue with it. So yeah, I would say, well, yes, it is, it's good to find your bang for your buck. I get that. But I mean, even for like myself, like as somebody who sells cards, like I'm not going to take cards for a loss. That's not what I'm trying to do. You obviously, if you're a breaker and you're buying all this product, you need to make your money back. They're a business. Like I think that's what people tried not to see. And I know people try to say, oh, it's not all about the money. It's not about the money. In a reality of a business, it is about the money on their end too. It really is. So, I would say I kind of agree with Phil, like with Mike. Like I think being a part of the experience, being part of the community, having that culture, being a part of having those communications, and talking to people, I think that is very important. I honestly wouldn't want to sit in a break where I'm just sitting there, the guy's not acknowledging me, and there's 3 people and they're waiting to fill a break in. I think that would be kind of annoying, honestly. And that's my money too. That's out. Like I could have put that money somewhere else. I could have bought that single somewhere else or things like that. I know that was a long answer and hopefully I answered your question, but I'm curious
I
in
think
that.
so. I think you hit. I think you honestly, um, you hit a lot of the points that I kind of have too. I mean, obviously, I was even talking to my wife about it for a little bit. If you go back and listen to like some of the earlier episodes where you know you asked my opinion upon about breakers, I was pretty strong about them. Where I didn't really fully understand them, and I kind of didn't like them. I don't want to say like them, but I wasn't like for breaks. And I don't know if that was maybe just that I just didn't fully understand the concept of it, or you know, and stuff like that. Um, and that could have been me. You know, I was, you know, I didn't understand paying $20 for, you know, a certain spot, and then you could possibly walk away with nothing, and that kind of didn't like sit right with me in a sense. Um, but I think as I kind of, you know, started to participate in breaks and dig a little bit deeper into like, you know, checklists and stuff like that, um, you can kind of get a sense of what a spot is worth or what you're going to chase and stuff like that. Um, so I think I have a little bit more of a standing for the breakers now, and obviously it's a business, you know, they got to make their money, you know, and I think the misconception is too that they're getting these products for cheap, and I don't think that's the case. I mean, they got to get it through Tops, and you know, obviously they gotta make their money. So you know, they gotta do what they gotta do to stay afloat. But I've braked before with filth bombs, and they do fill quite quickly. Like they do. Like they run like when they do their streams, they have at least like over 50 people in there, and they're constantly like just it's back to back, back to back. And you know, and while they're filling the current break, other spots going, the other breaks, the one that's after are gonna break. Like the one I was watching, um, obviously we're Red Sox fans, as we like to say on this podcast quite often. Like when I joined in, there was probably like the current break hadn't filled, but there was probably maybe like 4 or 5 teams that hadn't filled yet, and the break afterwards was already filling up. So I was like, oh crap, like let me go look at it. So I went in, saw the Red Sox for like at a good price. And I think it was Topps Chrome update. It had to be. Because I still had Fanatics credit. So I was obviously using that. So it probably had to have been like about a $30 spot. And so obviously I used the credit and I got in. But like that's the point. Like their breaks fill so fast that that they're selling like multiple spots like within, and that they break quick. And, you know, I mean, you can say like there's some people I've heard were like, oh, I want them to like go slow because I want to see cards. And there's times where like you look away, don't open a pack, you look back, and they're opening up another pack, so you completely miss what they do. So maybe they could slow it down. I don't know. But that's also like they said, like he said that like your time is money and stuff like that. So they obviously want to get through the break and stuff like that. I didn't feel like like you said that they mentioned you in the comments. I didn't feel like the I don't know what's the word I'm looking for, like personalization, is that, I don't know if that's the word or not. Like if you compare it to like a break with cards and cultures, and I'm not trying to compare the two, but obviously we break a little bit more with cards and cultures, so we know how they run. But like with cards and cultures, like if we hit a big card, like they'll go and like, all right, who got so and so and so? They're like, all right, good hit, you know, blah blah blah, whoever got that. And you feel like, all right, he took the time to like go and look who got this card, and everybody's in the chat, like, you know, like good hit, stuff like that. And like we've broken quite a bit with cards and cultures, and I think if you go and look at the comments, like even Anthony Renato, who's the owner of which we had on this pod, go check out the pod and, you know, go check it out in the histories. He also commented on that post saying like he's a slow breaker, and so yeah, like his breaks don't fill as fast as filth bombs, but they're not just sitting there like, you know, twiddling their thumbs waiting for spots to be broken. Like he's active in the chat, like. And I mean, this might sound corny and this might sound dumb and cheesy, but it kind of feels like when you're in those chats, like you kind of feel like you're part of the community, like you feel like you're part of the group, and or something like that. Like, you know, like we're there chit chatting, talking about sports, talking about this, that. Like we're not just there just waiting. Cause I think I've seen comments before on that post. They're like, oh, like if you're just in there for 4 or 3 hours just waiting for a break to be filled, like you have to rethink your life. And I don't think that's necessarily the case. like we're just there, like we're hanging out, and yeah, we're just having a good time. I think, and I think all it is in the end, like I think the post was unnecessary. If you honestly ask me, like egging him on, like like it is so and so like living and is Filth Bomb Mike living rent free in my head or whatever the hell he said. I think it was unnecessary if you ask me. Maybe he's trying to get like some more like exposure, if you want to ask. So maybe that's what the cause for it was. I don't know. But I mean, at the end of the day, like you know what you can afford to spend, and I think the account is good for the hobby. If you ask me too, like you can kind of see like what the price points are. Um, Choose who you want to break with. It's your money. Do what you want, and I think you at that same point you shouldn't be criticized how you want to spend your money. If you want to go and spend X amount of dollars with Filth Bomb breaks and break within 30 minutes, and that's your money, man. Or if you want to take X amount of dollars and go break with XXX, that's your money too. So I think it was unnecessary, the post. And yeah, I don't know. That was a long rant too. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, I want to preface there too. Is like I think both.
It was a long day about thinking about this. So I was trying
yeah.
to choose my words careful.
Yeah, I want to preface like both are very good for the hobby. Breaker comp cards, like they are good for people because it does give you it brings you value. Like it brings you like, hey, this person has the lowest amount. Like, oh, the lowest dollar amount. Let me go see what they're ripping. But I would also say there with that is that the lower breaker might be only ripping a box of Bowman, like let's say Bowman draft, for example. Like they might only rip one box of 2024 Bowman draft. Of course, that price is like to be X amount of dollars. Filth Bomb breaks, like we've discussed here, they rip boxes and boxes and boxes of cards. So of course their prices are going to be higher. So I think that's something there what like you do have to consider when you're looking at breaks and looking at that. Okay, how much? And I've said this. I've said this before in many episodes, a couple episodes ago. It's important to go look at what they're ripping, what the retail price is, and if it's 20% more, like are you comfortable with spending that? Like, that's what you have to look at. A breaker is not going to buy a box for $100 and have a 30 slot team and break even on that. Like they're not going to do that. It's like you're buying a card. You're not going to buy if you're like someone like myself who's trying to get money back into their, like I always say in quotation mark, like small little business. Like you're not going to go buy a card for your side hustle for a small little business to break even on it. Like you're not going to do that. Like you're going to go buy your card that you thought you got a good value for in a dollar box, and you're going to go list it on eBay for $10 so you can get $8 back in. And like, what's the difference with grading? You're going to buy a $3 card so you can go send it to PSA to get that PSA 10. So then it becomes a $6 card. Like, what's the difference in that? Like, so I think there's a lot of preface and a lot of more thought and information needs to go into the post and things like that. And yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think BreakCompCards is good for the hobby, and offering that value to you, bringing you that information. But yeah, I think the secondary posts and those posts in general were just kind of just egging them on. Engagement, the hipsters nowadays say engagement farming, as they like to say, on there. So it could have been that. And I think, like it or not, I think breaking is good for the hobby as well. Brings you another way for you to buy cards, and it kind of circles back to why we started the podcast. It's like, we started this podcast and we see it at shows too. Like it's cliche, it gets thrown around a lot, but it is the hobby. The point of the hobby is in the end collecting. You're in a room or you're on a live with collectors. You can be in there with flippers. You very well could be, but a lot of the times you're in there with collectors like myself and I. Obviously, we try to collect Red Sox cards. We try to collect top prospects. So I think in the end, you're connecting with different people. I've met tons of people online that I now follow and have consistent communication through them. If it's through X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, Instagram, Discord, or even at shows. Like we've met so many people. We've obviously kept that connection. It's through, a little piece of shiny cardboard that's done that. So in the end, I think overall, I think both are very good for the hobby. And I think we just need to embrace everything that's within the hobby these days, like it or not. You need to embrace it. And I think it's definitely good to have these consistent conversations. I think these are conversations that also need to be had to bring out awareness for these types of things and bring out, anything there. Because obviously there could be some red flags with breaking. There could be those, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to say thieves, but like bad people when breaks. Maybe they do some shady things. You never know. But yeah, I think in the end, we need to have these conversations.
Good stuff. Good stuff. All in, just do what you want to do, man. It's your money.
Spend your money the way you want to spend your money.
Spend it the way you want to do it, man. Don't let people on the internet bully you into like feeling bad about participating in breaks or participating in that break and not that this one. Like I've participated, like we mentioned, I've done with different breakers, and there's some that that I prefer over the other. But yeah, you just gotta do your research, do your homework. You gotta give it a shot. And I think that was my main purpose, or my main point too, is when I don't think I fully understood it, I hadn't participated in it yet, and now that I've kind of gotten my feet wet, I get it. It's fun if you find the right breaker. And I think that was the point of the video too, that he kind of made, where like you don't want to be sitting there for X amount of hours with no engagement. So I mean, and I won't lie, I've joined streams, not participated in breaks, but you'll join a stream and like there's like nobody on camera, and you just see like the product, and it's just like music in the background. Or you'll join somebody and there's like 5 people in there, and like the guy's just like, or girl's just looking at their phone, they're scrolling, whatever, doing whatever they want. So there's no movement. So you just gotta do your research, join different streams. You'll find somebody that you like, and obviously we've been lucky to connect with Cards and Culture and stuff like that. So, but yeah, do your thing.
Buy what you like, do what you like. Overall, it's your money, and do what you feel that overall fits your needs. But that is going to be this episode of Cardboard Dugout. Definitely do appreciate all the listeners and or watchers who have definitely been tuning into this episode. But of course, before we wrap up everything, like per usual, I'm going to give it off to some final thoughts. Bro Pio, do you have any final thoughts there for the good old listeners over at Cardboard Dugout?
Yeah. I posted a TikTok earlier today. Well, obviously when this podcast comes out, probably be like Monday or Tuesday. Yeah. Maybe a couple of days. But I finally got a chance to go hit up a local card show, and I posted like which I'm gonna probably maybe try to start doing like a little money challenge where you get like X amount of dollars to spend there. So I walked in with $40, tried to go hit up some value. Spent like about $18-19, I think. Not including admission. Walked away with some cool stuff, and somebody left a comment on there saying like those were good hits, and he was like, that's kind of what the hobby was about. And so I responded to a comment, and I was like, a lot of the hobby, right, I feel like right now is kind of like based on, it's either big hit or nothing, kind of like a swing or a miss, if you want to put it into baseball terms. We're obviously chasing like the big names, the Paul Skeens, Jackson Merrill, Churio, Shohei Ohtani, guys like that. Obviously we all want those guys. But I mean, the realistic point is probably the odds of hitting the bigger name cards are, not as high. So in the comment, I was kind of like, a lot of the hobby right now, I feel like it's focused on that, and it's not really focused on the lower end cards, where there is value in, lower end cards. And I feel like the hobby is kind of like putting a lesser focus if it's not numbered or colored. So yeah, go check out the TikTok. Got some pretty cool cards. I got them all for like $1 or less, $2 or less. So it's pretty cool. Stuff for the PC, stuff that I'm probably gonna get graded or just keep for my collection. But yeah, my point is, there's value in like dollar cards. Don't let like, just because it's not numbered, or just because it doesn't have a little shiny color, or it doesn't refractor or it doesn't shine or stuff like that. Like, don't let that discourage you from continuing the hunt for pulling. And also go check out your targets. Where there seems to be a restock coming of Topps Chrome, as you can see right here, the lovely Paul Skeens Raven. After I just went on a rant about not complaining, I'm like, here's my Paul Skeens card. But yeah, keep an eye out on your targets. You got lucky. You hit the restock, and you got some big hits yourself. Which, if you haven't seen the YouTube video, go check it out. It's out on the channel right now. Go see what the big hit is. But other than that, that was my long 3-minute final thought.
Yeah, if you guys haven't, go check out your targets. If you guys don't know, obviously I got a sealed one here right now. Just looking for a good time to rip this for either for like a TikTok or a YouTube video. But yeah, 2024 Topps Chrome mega boxes. Hit a restock at my local Target. These on Waxat go for like $100. So the fact that I found these for retail for $50 is a good deal. Like Bro Pio just mentioned, I do have a video out there where I just ripped 2 boxes and we get a nice hit in both boxes. So stay tuned for the whole video. Those are probably some of the better boxes that I had. It was probably better than my Topps Chrome hobby box. So awkwardly enough that I ripped on my wedding. I said that in the video too. But yeah, that video is out on the channel. Link will be down in the description down below if you're watching on YouTube. Obviously, if you're an Apple listener or a Spotify listener, head over to the Moon 3PO channel, and it will be the most latest video there that you can find on that channel. And yeah, go check out that video. 2 boxes there of Topps Chrome mega boxes there. And of course, if you guys like that content, please feel free to leave a like, subscribe to the channel. Because obviously I don't do a lot of ripping on the channel, trying to bring that a little bit more to the channel if the viewers want it. Obviously for me, I love just ripping cards, things of that nature. Keeping sealed wax is just crazy to me, especially these days with everything going on. So yeah, I just love to rip packs, and like we've talked about in this hobby. That's what it's all about. Just buying a box of cards at your local retail stores, local LCS, and just ripping it out, making some content, having some fun, and yeah, sharing the hits, which is what we did. So yeah, check out that video. Check out the other socials. You can find me everywhere at Moon3PO. You can even see the hit that I posted, and I'm going to be posting more of my hits that I got on Instagram, so you can see that. You can even see the hits that I posted from my box break from Cards and Culture. Got that in a couple of days ago. Posted those pictures on over there, so you're going to see what I got in the 2024 Bowman Draft Break. You could definitely go see those hits there. Again, at Moon3PO at all my socials, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. If you want to follow Bro Pio and you want to carry this conversation over with us about breaking or about anything in the hobby, baseball, want to carry those conversations, you can follow Bro Pio at _Robbie. That is ROBBEE. That's 2 B's, 3 E's. If you want to go check him out on those socials there, he's been very active. That TikTok did really good. He's been active on X, Twitter, where you want to call it these days. So yeah, go free to check it out, all of those episodes here. And yeah, thank you for listening, watching, supporting everything that we do here. We really do appreciate it. We hopefully got some very fun stuff coming with us in the next couple of weeks, couple of months. So please just stay tuned for all of those social medias, because we'll definitely be having a lot of fun over here. But that's all we have for this episode of Cardboard Dugout. Again, thank you for listening and watching, and we will see y'all in the next one.